Today at our studio, we have an incredible professional and a wonderful human being, Danny Waddell with CrossCountry Mortgage. Danny, you've created a specialized loan program specifically designed for SpaceX employees, and it is so unique that it instantly attracted my attention. But before we dive into the specifics of that program, I would like to ask you a few questions. How did you start in mortgage lending and what led you here?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you. My first job out of high school was a bank teller. I always loved finance. I always loved helping people with their finances and helping them understand more complex, financial information, but in a way that is digestible for them. I always felt like in high school and in college, we never really got a real good education on how to manage our finances.
You're right.
And mortgages, that's even a hard word to spell sometimes,
Yes.
So as I grew in my professional career and went through college, I was always in banking. I stepped out of banking for a little while to do some ministry work, but then once I got married and had kids, stepped back into finance, and then joined CrossCountry Mortgage, about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And so I've been doing it ever since.
And you never looked back.
Yeah, I never looked back.
That sounds very inspiring.
Well, maybe once or twice.
Yes, but you're still here with us, so that's
yes.
amazing. So now let's circle back to this SpaceX program. What inspired you to create it in first place, and why this program is so different from all other traditional loan options out there?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share about it. It's an incredible program. So I've had, living here in the South Bay of Los Angeles, we have quite a few space engineers
That's
all
true.
around. SpaceX specifically, this is kind of their main headquarters, and a lot of my close friends, but then also clients, work for SpaceX. And as I've started to approve them for homes and dive into their finances, I realized that SpaceX employees are paid in a very unique way. And not only that, but because their stock and their company is still privately held, it makes it very hard, specifically for banks, to qualify them on their unique income structure.
That sounds about right.
Right?
Yes.
And this, you have some personal experience with that as well, right?
That is correct. My husband, he worked at SpaceX for 10 years, and we tried to buy a house multiple times in the past using our stocks as an income. Never happened.
Right. And so what's cool about CrossCountry Mortgage is that we are a proprietary lender, which means that we can kind of make our own credit decisions on whether we think something makes sense or not.
Okay.
We can think outside the box. And so I have some very unique and relationships at SpaceX, we'll say, that got me in the door
Nice.
to have the conversations and put the right people around the table, because there's got to be a solution that makes sense for everybody.
Agree.
It's the biggest company in the world.
Right?
Right?
And still no solution.
Right,
Well,
and
now
still-
we have one, and
right.
we're going to talk about it in a moment.
Yeah, and so it was great to get the right people at the table from the lending side of CrossCountry Mortgage, but also the SpaceX side in their stock division. And we came up with a really cool solution that helps these SpaceX employees buy homes in the areas that they are working in that's going to be suitable for their family.
Yes.
Yeah.
And usually the areas where they work in is a bit of a high price point when it comes to real estate.
Yeah, LA is known for not being the cheapest place to live.
That is true. Still beautiful though.
Yes.
So Danny, we both know that real estate market is extremely competitive, especially here in South Bay where we are. So how does your program help SpaceX employees not only stand out, but also compete against other buyers?
Yeah, that really relates to the first question that you asked me about what kind of inspired me to pursue this unique loan program. I had a client that I was working with for almost 2 years. And when I initially spoke to him, we got him qualified, but he expressed that it really wasn't enough to get him what he wanted for his family long term. He wants to stay in the South Bay of Los Angeles. He wants to raise a family here. But what he was qualifying for wasn't where he needed to be to set his family up for success. And that's really what got me going on this. There's finding a solution. And so with this new program, it allows SpaceX employees to qualify for the homes that they really feel that
Which
they
is
want to raise their
amazing.
their families in.
Yeah.
And so this specific client actually just closed on his new home last week.
Congratulations to him and you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I would imagine you were the one who was helping.
Yes, yeah,
Of course.
And it was great because he got into the home that he felt was right for his family, that he would not have qualified for before this program was around.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's what truly is changing this industry. So, Danny, can you please tell us a little bit more about RSU? Because this abbreviation is frequently used among SpaceX employees, but not a lot of people truly understand what it is. What does RSU stand for?
That's a great question. There's a lot of companies that will pay their employees a salary, but then they'll also offer additional compensation through what we call restricted stock units of the company. So it allows the employees to have ownership in the company while still receiving a salary. And those together is the employee's complete benefit package. But oftentimes as a bank, we will only look at their salary and we won't look at the restricted stock units unless that company is publicly traded. Which in that case, most banks, we will be able to use their RSU income. But for privately held companies like SpaceX, we can't, most banks cannot use their restricted stock units as additional qualifying income for that individual.
And that's what truly stands out, because like I mentioned earlier, my family and I, we couldn't use my husband's SpaceX stocks as an income. So our purchasing power was not as high. And the same happened to my SpaceX clients. We were trying to buy, we needed a certain amount and they just could not qualify. The lenders would not know how to make it work. But it sounds like you found the solution, so which is nice. Can you please tell us, how is it a game changer for SpaceX employees who want to buy a house and want to qualify for a home loan?
Yeah, so let's just say hypothetically a SpaceX employee makes, $300,000 a year, and they receive a salary of $150,000, and then they receive $150,000 in restricted stock units, And what's great about, of course, SpaceX stock is that it just keeps going off like a rocket.
That's
pun
true.
intended, And so what's great is that a lot of the employees at SpaceX have a large majority of income in stocks. And so what this new program allows us to do uniquely at CrossCountry Mortgage is use those restricted stock units as additional qualifying income. And it allows those clients to then qualify for more of a home that they can afford and raise their family here in the South Bay.
That's amazing. And this is how they can make their dream of homeownership come true.
Yes,
right?
I totally agree.
Not just keep those stocks in their portfolio, but actually use it as a qualified income.
Yes.
Wonderful. So Danny, now stepping back from just SpaceX, we are seeing a lot of new tech companies and a lot of unique employee situations. Where do you see mortgage industry heading in the next few years?
Oh, that's a really unique question. The mortgage industry is a little behind when it comes to technology, we'll say.
Like it.
And I think it has a lot to do with, the security requirements that we have and the federal guidelines and government policies that we have to really abide by. But as we step into this new age of technology, I think that for the clients and borrowers that are coming to us, we as lenders have to start opening our eyes and ears to the changing environment around us and how people are getting compensated for their time. But also just internally as a bank, there's AI that's coming into play. There's all these different things that are allowing us to move our industry forward. And I think that that's all going to change the landscape, I would say, in the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, even as a lender, we are seeing AI developments in CrossCountry Mortgage that they're allowing us to use for different underwriting guidelines and looking things up that are helping us move things along a lot faster. So I also think that, the standard escrow timeline is what, 30 days?
It's about 30 days, plus or minus.
Yeah. So I think we could even see homes closing in a lot less than 30 days soon.
Nice. That's very nice. Do you think that AI at some point will replace lenders?
Great question. I think the AI will absolutely make a big impact in certain aspects of lending. I could see potentially underwriting becoming more AI generated. But when it comes to the lender, there's a human aspect where I need to make recommendations and think through things in a way that is more comprehensive than what I've seen AI be able to do today. Oftentimes when a client calls me, they have very unique problems that require more thoughtful solutions that I can't see AI replacing yet.
It just needs a human touch that we'll never have.
Same with real estate agents.
Absolutely.
Right? Like anybody, I'm sure AI will be able to draw up a contract someday.
That's true. Yes.
But when it comes to negotiating and knowing what your clients need, I can't imagine AI is ever going to touch that.
Me neither. So we'll see how it changes.
Yeah.
Danny, do you think that programs like yours will eventually expand beyond just SpaceX and go into other tech companies in the future?
You know, one reason I get asked all the time, so I'm sure, like you being a successful agent, you're getting calls all day from people trying to recruit you and poach you and all that stuff.
Yes, every single day. You're right.
It's wild how many calls we get. And as a lender, I get called all the time from different banks saying, you know, oh, we want you to come work for us. But one of the main reasons I'm so proud and I will never leave CrossCountry Mortgage is because of the way that we approach each borrower in the unique circumstance that they have and the exceptions that we're allowed to make for that client. If it makes sense, then we're going to find a way to make it work.
Danny, that's interesting. You mentioned exceptions. What do you mean by exceptions for that particular client?
Yeah, so a lot of clients will have different ways that they are structuring their income, their assets, their liabilities, the way that they claim things on their tax returns. So with CrossCountry Mortgage, we're able to look at a client as a whole, as opposed to, do you fit in this box? And if you don't fit in this box, you're not approved. But I can really make a decision on the client and say, no, this makes sense. You know, they have a really good accountant who's done some pretty incredible things for tax benefits, but I can still see how this makes sense. And so I can take this to CrossCountry and say, listen, here's the client, here's, you know, how he claims all of this information, here's his ratios, and then CrossCountry can make a decision on, yeah, we feel comfortable with this too, we agree with you that this client is worth taking a risk, even though he doesn't fit into the exact guideline boxes that most banks would require clients to fit into.
That's incredible. It very much feels like a private client, like private banking, right?
I never thought about that, but it does feel like a more, you know, CrossCountry, we're the largest mortgage bank in the United States. But in a way, it does feel like more boutique kind of like solutions. You're right. I've never thought about it like that.
So, Danny, one of the things that I hear very often from other people is you're a mortgage firefighter. You're the guy that people call when banks say no.
Yeah.
So, can you share a story or two when you were able to step in and save the loan file when others couldn't close? What was the most challenging part and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I'm dealing with two right now. There's a client in the area who's buying around a $3.5 million house, and the other bank wasn't performing. Similar to what we were talking about earlier, this client, although he's very affluent and his income looks very good, he has a very good accountant, and on their tax returns doesn't show much income because the accountant does a very good job of, you know, writing things off or doing what they need to do. So I got a call from the listing agent, who's a friend of mine, and said, Danny, we need to close this deal in 10 days. And I was, you know, and as you mentioned earlier, you know, 30 days is an average timeline for an escrow.
That's typical.
But we were able to step in and we got it closed in 8 days, which is
Good
awesome.
for you. Yes.
You know,
it is extremely rare, I must admit, 8 days.
Yeah, it was great. I'm very proud of my team for the way that they handled that situation. It's good to be known as the firefighter. You know, I wish we don't get the calendar, but you know, I'm glad to be able to help my clients, but I would prefer to work for them from the beginning so that they don't have to face those headaches and struggles in the middle of escrow, because it's so stressful when things seem to be falling apart.
But as long as they have you and you can pivot, then it makes it much more enjoyable.
And it's important to do your homework ahead of time and not let your clients get into a contract that they're not going to be able to close.
Of course.
You know, so if we do our due diligence up front, we should never let a client be put in that position to have to fall apart, right?
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Danny, for buyers who might be listening to us right now, especially those in specialized industries, what advice would you give them if they're looking for loan solutions that are tailored for their specific situation?
Yeah, you know, it really depends on their timeline. If they're wanting to buy in a year, I would say let's work together now and see if there's some changes that we might be able to make that are simple. Maybe we can talk to your accountant or your financial advisor to set you up for success on what you want to get in a year from now. If they want to buy in 6 months, they've got to work with a specialized lender that's going to be able to cater to whatever their specific needs are. They're probably not going to qualify with the big banks. You know, big banks have very defined boxes and guidelines. And if you don't fit into their 4 or 5 loan products, then you're just not qualified. You know, I've got hundreds of loan options that I can look at and jump through and weave in and out of to meet the client's needs. So they're going to want to work with a specialized lender that kind of knows the industry and what options are available to them.
And it sounds like you're the guy they can call.
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you.
So Danny, and finally looking ahead into the future, are there any new innovations or programs that you're currently working on that you could share with us today?
Yeah, there are some that I'm currently working on, specifically where there's guidelines that are changing left and right. So oftentimes we'll get notifications from the federal government that says, the conventional loan limits are changing, this guideline's updating. And so we're always trying to make sure that we're staying in line with those. And I guess what I would say too is we're always willing to try. If there's something new or something that you think makes sense, let's talk about it. Let's see if there's a way to partner with you in it. If there's a new company that's similar to SpaceX that might need a little bit of help with their employees and their guidelines, let's figure it out. If it makes sense and there's a way to make it work, I will fight to make it happen. And so I'm always willing to go to bat for anybody that really wants to make home ownership or real estate investing part of their overall portfolio.
That's incredible. Danny, thank you so much. It was truly such a pleasure to have you here at our studio today, and thank you for answering all of our questions.
It was an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. I hope you'll find it very helpful. And if you ever have additional questions, you're welcome to call Danny or myself directly, and the information will be down below.